Is it slanted a little away from me on a tripod? Should we turn it, or is it good to go the way it is?
I think it looks good. It's pretty level here.
Okay, so it's recording now?
Yeah, we're recording.
All right, I'll begin. What's up, everyone? Thank you for watching Quality of Life, parts 1 through 5. The film is complete, and I'm very thankful for everyone that's watched from United States, coast to coast, everyone in Australia, everyone in Europe, and the whole world. Thanks for watching. The whole video, parts 1 through 5, is demonetized, which means it's ad-free, which means I'm not making any money off of it. It's just a gift to graffiti. And if you want to support my channel, we have a Big Cartel store. The name of the Big Cartel is called jwfdocs.bigcartel.com. I have some merch, such as bandanas, if anyone is interested in owning a piece of history and supporting the channel. We have patches also, good for your jacket or wherever you want to put it on, as well as stickers. And I also have buttons, some pins, if you're interested in some pins. So this last video that I'm going to be uploading now is bonus footage. It's stuff that unfortunately didn't make the cut for the documentary, but it's extremely important information in terms of NYC graffiti history. There's a lot left on the chopping table, and I was really upset to have to cut some of this stuff out, but I just wanted to keep the flow going. But since it's important history, I'm releasing it now in a bonus footage reel. So here it is. Enjoy.
Etch bath is an acid that dissolves glass, like on a very surface level.
Nobody knew what etch was when the first tags started popping up. I couldn't tell if it was paint.
Etch is acid bath. That's what it's called, acid bath.
And then people put it in markers. So it removes like the sheen of glass.
So you can make a homemade marker with it. Maybe if you get a window paint marker, rack a pack of window paint markers, empty out all the liquid, and carefully fill in the etch.
It gives it like a translucent look, drippy, like some drippy, oozy looking.
And you ruin your clothes. I never really fucked with it. It's kind of annoying and a little dangerous.
I had a couple of bad experiences with it, and I told myself I'll never fucking touch it again.
That stuff can really hurt you, man. Like, it'll burn a hole in your skin. You know what I mean? Like, if you have it in your pocket and it leaks it into your pocket, it'll burn a hole into your leg. If you're writing with it and it splashes into your eye, you're gonna fucking go blind.
I kept etch bath in my back pocket, and the shit leaked and fucking gave me a rash that fucking lasted for like a fucking months. So, you know what I'm saying? I was telling my homie Ouch, rest in peace. I was telling him about the shit. He was like, yeah, man, I got that shit on my nuts once. Like, he was like, yeah, that shit is dangerous as fuck.
So the first person to use etch bath that is noted was Sace, actually. And he went down to Miami for Art Basel. He may have learned it from someone down there. I think he was definitely the first person to bring it up here. And he just like went crazy in Art Basel and then was just like etching the shit out of everything, and people had no fucking idea what was happening. Like, what's happening to these windows? They were just trying to scrub them.
It's a great tool if you want to fuck up some subway windows.
I was in Macy's one time, and I was in the cooking section downstairs, the cooking appliances and shit, and I had seen this spray, and it was for olive oil, and it was like, you put the olive oil in it and you pump it and you spray it like a spray can. And I had this fucking genius idea to put etch bath in that shit. So I took it home and I was like, all right, on my experimenting shit, you know what I mean? I put some fucking etch bath in there, fucking pumped it up, I went to my staircase and I actually fucking caught one tag. The shit worked. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be the illest nigga. Like, I'm gonna have spray paint etch bath. You know what I'm saying? So, but the thing was, it was an aluminum can. fucking took the shit out. And I was like, you know, I was with the homie Hour, you know, free Hour, by the way. I was like, yo, check this shit out. I got Etch bath spray paint. Nigga, like, I made this shit. He was like, word? He was like, yo, let me catch the towel. I was like, hold up, let me do this shit first. So I don't know why I fucking pumped it up even more. And the shit started shaking in my hands. Hour looks at me, he steps back, and the shit just fucking exploded. Like, boom! This shit fucking went in the air, the cap. I was like, the shit pinched my hand. I was like, you know, luckily I had my glasses on. The shit fucking got in my glasses and shit. I was like, yo. So, yo, you seen that shit? And he was like, yo, that's fucking crazy. The fucking cap fell after I said that to him. The shit fucked up my glasses permanently. I had to get new fucking lenses on my glasses and shit. But that was one story.
The city, how did the city combat Etch bath? I don't think they knew what to do at all.
Now they put these plastic covers, they'll just peel it off. Before you wouldn't be able to see anything out the window. Like, what train stop is this? I did a few, I never seen them again. So I don't know what they did with those windows.
I remember same shit with Marsh. You were Flowmaster. Yo, I took a shampoo bottle before I started using A1 and like A1 steak sauce bottles. A shampoo bottle. I brought it to the Sixes, Zariga, Castle Hill, Middletown Road. They used to park the Sixes up there. You get about 100 cars up there. But I put it down in my pants and this. Yo, by the time I got up there, the shit was like, oh, fuck, man. Like, my shit was burning. And, it turned to goo. It actually dissolved the bottle. And it was like, yo, that shit was all over my leg. Like, my night was decked. Like, I had nothing to write with. My pants was all over my balls,
even
dick,
even strong ink can do that to you.
That shit was bad. That even, like, fucking melts the fucking
But
elastic in your fucking
throwing a bunch
underwear.
of acid on your skin.
Yo, this shit even melts the fucking elastic in your underwear, man. It was like, yo, yeah, that was bad, man. That was uncomfortable.
First time I saw a homemade marker / mop, I say was 1985. My father used to write SS. Well, Sam's, but it was SS for short. And one day, we were on the double R line on 59th Street and 4th Avenue. My brother was 6 and I was 5. And he told me to go to the front of the station and he told my brother to go to the middle. And he said, if you see any cops, scream out, Dad, very loud. And so I was like, all right, no problem. When the train came, it was a brand new, freshly painted, white double R train. And like I'm asking him, what are you gonna do? He said, don't worry about it, just don't tell your mother. I was like, okay. So we go all the way, I go to the front, brother goes to the middle. Train comes, and I just see my dad standing there. Next thing I know, I see him go into his pocket, take out a black bag, and then as the doors were closing, I just see him go to the train and just start writing on the train. And as the train's pulling off, all I see is this purple name that said Sam's dripping down the car.
Wanted it to be out there and to be big and bold and drippy and to look juicy.
When we got home, the first thing I did, I snuck into the room, opened up the bag, and I seen a speed stick covered in purple ink.
So the way you do it is you need more inks and a bigger tip, where you would take the top of your deodorant off and then take an eraser, a school eraser, that big felt tip, fold them in half, dump them in, tie it in, soak it in ink, and you use it 3 or 4 times. You destroy your clothes.
When I opened it and it popped, I had purple ink all over me. And I'm just looking at it and I'm dripping on the floor and everything like that. It was an eraser folded, like strips of the eraser folded in the speed stick. And like that wrapped with tape and everything like that. And that's how you would make a homemade mop and marker.
But then you'd have your point and shoot camera. You'd have a couple of good tags or some really drippy, beautiful tags with a really wide tip to it.
I came down the stairs and it's crazy how I had the bag stuck to my hand. Then my dad see me, he's like, what's wrong with you?
And sometimes you'd put too much ink and it would just look like a blob, but people who knew could recognize it.
The Graffiti Hall of Fame is basically a schoolyard. Graffiti writers since like the early 80s have been going over there just to showcase their stuff, and eventually it became a place where that showcased writers from all over the world. It's still something that's very prized and valued in the neighborhood.
That's the Hall of Fame. I don't know. That's always had an attraction. Like 106th and Park.
Sometimes I think that 106th and Park built their studios on purpose, like right across on the other side. I don't know if you know about that, They were like literally right across the street, and I think they did it just for that energy and that reason alone.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the premiere show of 106 Park.
This is the world premiere. Say, woo,
Come on. He is ludicrous.
It's all my dogs. We want to know what Freeze fantasy is. Am I right? Say what? Oh, baby, you got what I need. But you say he just a friend. Or you say he just a friend.
You know, it's always had an
Wherever there's a
attraction.
big graffiti scene or something like that, there's the people from out of the country always come.
We were catching them out there way back, man. We'd get them motherfuckers up there in the Hall of Fame. We'd be robbing them, stealing their cameras and shit like that. Always, me, Spawn, Pove, we would catch motherfuckers out there. We'd get them, we'd surround them, because they'd be in the field. And, you know, they'd be doing graffiti and shit, so it's only two ways out. One gate here and one gate on the 106th and one in the project. So we just get one dude over there in one area and the other on the other. You know, people walking up to them and be like, point to them that they're done, you know. And they look at both gates, they realize they got to take a loss, you know.
I don't know so much about 5 Points. I just know it's that building across from PS1. I guess it was just a spot where people could paint or whatever. I never painted it.
Oh, 5 Points was a space in Queens that was allocated for people to write graffiti. And I think that the idea was harm reduction in addiction, that if you give people a place to write graffiti, then they won't write graffiti all over the neighborhood. And I think that worked, actually.
Was an old building by the 7 train, Court Square, and they allowed graffiti writers from all around the world to just do pieces on them. It was a fun building.
It was a legal graffiti, what do I call it? Like a factory. It used to be called a fun factory. I was kind of more intrigued by the bomb stations. At that time, early 90s, every single station was bombed, top to bottom. They didn't start cleaning up the train stations, I want to say, till maybe 96, 97. Around that time, I can't pinpoint it exactly, but during the Giuliani era. I was always more intrigued by that. But I appreciated it, but I was just more into the bombing culture. I didn't really care about the fun factory. The fun factory was legal graffiti. It didn't intrigue me as much.
5 Points was a place to practice, a place where the graffiti community can meet other people who did graffiti. I would say more friendlier people, you know what I'm saying?
When I first went there back in like 98, it was owned by this guy, Pat
DeLillo. And he was an ex-cop. He hurt himself, I think, chasing graffiti writers. I don't know if that's the story, but that was the story. He used to run the Fun Factory. This was about, I want to say, 1995.
I've met people from different countries there. I met Miz there in like 96, 97. And years later, I heard about 5 Points. And someone told me that Miz is the one who runs it. And I was like, oh shit, well, I know Miz. Yeah, I'm gonna go over there and see what's up and go paint.
It was good.
5 Points has been the only non-profit organization that is run by writers for writers. Express your artistic talent and have fun and meet other artists, and it's always had a very mellow vibe. And Mears took over and raised the quality of artwork and just everything to the place, and more respectable artists were coming there and doing quality work.
We're here at 5 Points in Long Island City. It's the largest aerosol art exhibit space in the United States.
Folks from all over the world became aware of this space, and it just grew and grew and grew.
5 Points is the largest legal aerosol art center in the world. 5 Points attracts any walk of life. So of course New Yorkers, but more importantly people from all over the world. We get an average of 7 to 8 tour buses, 51 to 61 seaters, every week. Every major tour operator bring people here.
It was one of those places where if you were working on a new style or if you were working on something that you wanted to get out, you could talk to Pat when he owned it. And then it was just like, yo, let me paint here. All right, no problem, go ahead.
So sometimes I would go over there, not too often because I wasn't into legal graffiti that much. I would see it on the train because I used to ride a 7 train because my great-grandmother lived in East Elmhurst, so off 103rd and Corona Plaza. I rode the 7 train almost every weekend, so I would see this.
The owner of the building purchased it in the early 70s, and at this point he wants to cash in and he wants to put up 2 towers and destroy the building.
It's giving an alternative. It's giving, yeah, maybe they will go out and tag the street another day, but the day that they're here, they're not tagging the streets. And imagine there was a 5 points in every borough. That's 5 different places that they could go paint, And I'm not trying to be a cure for the graffiti problem in New York. I mean, to me, I like it. Like I said, I like it, but it is an alternative, and you have to have an alternative. It's an art form that's not going to go away. It's not a trend. It's definitely a marketing tool right now for corporate America.
It was nice. It was something really iconic and different about New York. And what happens to things that are iconic and different about New York? They disappear.
We never gave buildings to the artists. They've always been our buildings. Now we want to do what we want to do with our property, and that is to build 2 rental towers and grow with the growing neighborhood. It's time. The community is changing, and I don't think they understand that, look, this is our property, and we like to do what we think is right for the neighborhood and for ourselves.
A mecca for New York graffiti artists disappeared overnight.
If you'd have came here almost a week ago, the building behind me would have been tagged up by artists expressing themselves. People in the area are upset because they hear that the building is going to be knocked down and replaced with high-end condos. Last night, the walls, as you can see behind me, were painted white and with police protection because the people in the area don't agree with this. They feel like it judges the culture and goes against the grain of what 5 points stand for. Even graffiti artist Banksy did his part when he tagged the building with his name in the area, but when he posted it to his website, the caption read, "Save 5 points," which has kind of been the theme of this entire movement.
A developer asked them to work on the dilapidated warehouses back in 2002, but in 2013, the artwork was painted white and buildings torn down to make room for luxury apartments.
I just want to say thank you, Jerry. I hope you're happy you succeeded in destroying the building. And I just want to let you know one thing that's a fact. This is the most relevant art form of our time. And no one is going to talk to you about anything you build real estate-wise, but they'll remember you for this. Enjoy it. That's it.
I know that people were mad and pissed off, and I think that New York City lost something that was very interesting. Like everything, it turns into condos.
Federal judge awards nearly $7 million to the artist whose graffiti work was destroyed at the former 5 Points building in Queens. 5 Points owner Jerry Wolkoff allowed artists to use the building as a mural for nearly 20 years, but then decided to redevelop the property into condos. 21 artists sued, claiming the graffiti pieces were protected works of art. In November, a jury found Wolkoff broke the law when he whitewashed the building and then demolished it.
Definitely a relief that it's over. Still numb.
Mirrors One sums up how he and his fellow graffiti artists are feeling a day after a federal appeals court upheld a $6.7 million settlement after their work at the famed 5 Points art mecca in Long Island City was destroyed in 2013 by a developer, all to make room for luxury condos. Mirrors One was initially given permission by developer Jerry Wolkoff to adorn the property with aerosol art and graffiti, but the artist, whose real name is Jonathan Cohen, filed suit against Wolkoff after he had ordered the buildings to be whitewashed, denying artists the ability to preserve any of their work. Lawyers for the artist successfully argued in a 2018 trial the work was recognized stature protected by the Federal Visual Arts Rights Act, a federal law that took effect in 1990. A 3-judge panel this week agreed.
To me, the words written by the judge are worth $5 billion. It's been validated as an art.
Yeah, we did this. We did this for the culture we love. And we stood up.
A long and hard fight that will now set a precedent on how artists work with property owners.
The judge noted that Wolkoff wouldn't have been responsible for paying so much in damages if he had just waited for the permits and destroyed the building after having the permits 10 months later.
So this is your gallery. This is where my paintings are.
Chris Pape paints 30 feet underground.
I was at one point going to have an opening down here, but I thought that if we had wine and cheese set out, that the rats would jump all over the cheese and people would freak out and run.
The Freedom Tunnel is the Amtrak tunnel that runs under the west side of Manhattan from Penn Station all the way north.
His graffiti tag was freedom in the old days. when his work made the local news.
Generally, the Freedom Tunnel they were talking about was from 72nd to 125th Street.
There's this tunnel underneath Riverside Park. Steve 161 stole some dynamite from a construction site and he blew a hole in the bathroom. We went down there, slid down this embankment, then we had to jump about 5 feet from there, and there we were in the tunnel. The Freedom Tunnel.
That was the entrance we used to go in at either 72nd or 125th usually, and actually we had an entrance on 91st Street too to get into the Freedom Tunnel, right next to the highway.
It's very secretive stuff. All this great death-defying stuff that's very appealing to 14-year-olds. And that's what we did. We went down there, and there we were in the tunnel.
The 33-year-old artist's works appear under 5 city blocks.
Tell me about this.
The concept was just to make the two torsos work together.
Tell me about this one.
This piece in particular is taken from a photo by Margaret Burke White that was done during the Great Floods. It's about taking an image that was, to me, very symbolic of the Depression and putting it in a new context.
Below ground, Chris Pape may be well known. Up here, he's hardly a household word. Although hundreds of people go within just a few feet of his paintings every single day. If only they knew where to look.
The whole idea was that you would look through the grating up above and you say, whoa, there's this painting. It drips down through the grating and then it's like invading thirst space. Just I would love to make a lot of money. I would love to have been one of those really successful painters. And it just didn't happen, you know? I wound up stuck in a freight car.
Thanks to everyone that wants to order a piece of merch to help me support my channel, to keep things going. I am working on more films. There will be more graffiti-related films, and I'm gonna give a little hint now to what the next film might possibly be. The $1 Million Vandal. Dessa, MTA. So thanks again everyone for watching, and I hope you have a good 2023. The best is yet to come. Cheers. Peace.